All right, let's jump into some, how do we actually defend against this? Well, let's talk about using human risk management. Humans to verify and validate and understand the cybersecurity risks and use the AI tools to make the right decisions, right? Initiating policy and training, education, as I mentioned before, educate, educate, educate. It is great. Training works for us. Let's keep doing it. And then building that positive culture so folks are coming back and telling you, you want to know the truth. Well, you can't have the truth if you're going to beat up the person who's going to tell it to you. So don't shoot the messenger. Recognize the messenger's value here in this chain of events, and that we're all sharing that responsibility. So we really have to look and make sure that this, as a top challenge for state and local governments, is incorporating the large language models and understanding how to do that in a protected way, right? Because we can mitigate some of the attacks. We can look at different ways of providing more security and building it in, and understanding it's not if but when. So we have to monitor and look for that, so they're not, when isn't 87 days too long, right? And research the new attacks and understand it. That's one of our jobs, is to look into things, always threat hunting, and then asking everybody to be alert, sharing that responsibility. It's all of our jobs to understand what's going on. And don't just plug things into our networks. Can't do that anymore, folks. We got to check them out first. We got to make sure it's plugged into the right area, the right way, and that it can't spread across just automatically. And then also look how the government and others are enabling their employees to use tools, but in the right way. If you're going to use ChatGPT, make sure everybody understands not to give it any data, because everybody else is going to have access to it. We won't anymore. And don't hook up a system that allows access to that data either, right? So that we're not actually bringing it into the core of our methodologies. Once again, passwords are a good way to defend against this. Multi-factor is even better. And if you're using two-factor, that's a good first step. I'm good with that, especially if it really is upping our game and making sure that we get there to that next level. It's really important. And when we look at the deep fakes, et cetera, we have to find methodologies to also protect against just assuming somebody is them because it sounds or looks like them and it's a video call, right? Find another methodology to verify it, especially if it's a really important decision they're telling you that they've made. And if it doesn't make sense, well, question it, verify it, ask somebody else, figure out whether or not they're on vacation and that they weren't actually calling you from China, that kind of stuff. And look for the things like inconsistencies, mismatches, look for unnatural facial expressions. Like we used to look for bad grammar, we have to look for those things in the communication. Does it not sound like them? Are they using words they don't usually use? So we can really get there. And then building things into our existing methodologies that are hard to replicate, watermarks and other things built into the images so that we know it's there and it's verified. Further help needed, right? Provide tools, process. We've got to give our teams the tools. We have to invest in this. I know where budgets are always tight, but we must do this. We have to find ways to get these funded. And then figuring out the if and when those new tools can be adapted, what happens and how do we correlate that into it. Finding ways to report when we get hit. And not just saying, hey, we were down, but telling our neighbors how we were down, how it affected us, how they got in, so they don't fall victim to. That's something that needs to happen here. And we're bad about that because we're embarrassed by the fact that we failed to protect us, right? We got attacked. So we really need to be aware and take